The Beef and Barnsey Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Road to Grit, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
Good morning and welcome back to the Beef and Barnsey Show. I am Barnsey, and today not joined by Beef as he's over in England. So you're stuck with just me, but alas, fear not. I have brought someone who brings far more to the table than I do. So you know what? We're not going to waste much time. We're going to bring on the coach of the pros. He gives more lessons than anyone a year. I'm pretty confident in saying more than 1,000 of them a year. That by itself is a crazy number when you think about it. Go do the math to that. All right. With no further ado, my good friend, my coach, and the guy we've leaned on to help so many different people, the Mark Baker. 4 titles. Player, let's see, high average in 1985 with the Wine Udot, and that's maybe all I got.
Yeah, it gets pretty skinny after that, so that's about as far as it goes. I'm much better at the coaching than I was at the bowling.
I think you could easily argue that really overall you bowled better than Randy Peterson did. But Randy bowled on TV way better than you.
Randy had TV figured out quickly. Randy liked TV, and TV liked Randy, and yeah, I might have been a little more consistent, but Randy definitely knew how to win. I'll give him that. Randy was really good on TV.
Yeah, I mean his actual 1% on TV was like almost 40%, which is
he had a really good run in there, and he had a couple different times where he ran the tables, and he would just get relaxed and. As Randy likes, Randy's made a living talking on TV, so he got relaxed on TV, and he enjoyed being there, and I think he just let it bowl, and what a great career.
He's a super confidence guy. Says, congrats on the doubles win, Stu. Fun to watch. Love to hear your recap and go over the balls you end up using. That will have to be at least on Thursday. We'll see what happens. He is back visiting family over in England, and, vacations go. Doesn't always work out, but I know he's using Excel a lot. I don't know. He always bowls good there. So we have a few Ohio State fans that are willing to give Stu the business about how that game went. It's the new Stu scammer bowling with Simon, but that's everyone's scammer. The under 5-5 plan worked better for him than it did for me. But Stu also bowled better than I did too. Shorts on tour? Why not? Mostly, have you seen some of the guys? That's a decent question, actually. I don't know. We do it because we've always done it kind of thing. I have felt like the Team USA probably should go to like the more athletic, sweats type, tracksuits type thing, athletic gear. I don't think that would be out of line for Team USA at all. The tour's been a different thing, but if I was in charge there, that's, you'd be wearing the stretchy athletic stuff that they wear, and then that would follow around the world.
If you got a pretty example, when you watch the PGA Tour, they look like pros. Liv looks like they're playing a scramble. They're wearing shorts. It doesn't look very professional.
I guess that's probably a good way to put it. If
if anybody's going to have nice legs, it'll be pro golfers.
Does that look like professional golf to you? Then, yeah, shorts would be no big deal.
It doesn't look like professional golf to very many viewers.
Apparently not.
They're not killing it. I tried to watch it. It's just kind of the team thing kind of gets in the. I don't like how they do the score. I want to know who's winning. I don't care about the team. I'm turning in to see. I want to see Patrick Reed play Dustin Johnson on the final hole. Right. I don't care about the 3 schleps on his team that, we've never heard of, and that's part of the team event. So, anyways, that's a different subject.
Yeah, Troy and I won that little thing, and it's a Friday night sweeper thing. And the guy goes, Wearing a hat during bowling shows some class. Like, well, I mean, it is Friday Night Sweeper.
True.
It wouldn't kill me if he took his hat off. Believe me. But
We're just getting old, dude.
Yep. Just watched Stu's review of the Hyperdrive Pearl. Looks good. It is a much cleaner cover than we've seen in a minute. Nico, fear not. He wanted to hear Stu talk about himself. In due time.
He's saving.
Simo throwing the backup ball against the left-handers was solid. They were friendly on the port side this year. So, Legend Bakes, good afternoon. What to do when my weakest ball hooks too much? Well, either get a weaker ball or more speed or less hand pressure.
Add loft.
Why do a lot of lefties play close to the gutter? Because that's where the friction's built in. The beauty and detriment to the Kegel machine is they don't really put out of bounds and then hook spots move them in particularly easily. You can do it, but it's not a super easy thing to do. And so generally it's just easier to keep the left-handers out towards the gutter and away from the play that the right-handers are going through. And yeah. Bowler check. Morning, Mark. When are you coming to visit? That's Laura.
Oh, Laura up in Reno. I don't have it on. I do miss Laura. She is by far the best cook of anybody I've ever given lessons to. Well, I'm dead serious. When you show up to get a lesson, you got freshly baked bagels. Yeah, she could put it on the table. She would make me homemade matzo ball soup. Oh, her lessons were good. You would like those, Chris.
Yeah, I'm sure. No days off for me. What did you call me?
All first team, all knife and fork.
Yeah.
You like to put it down.
South Africa says hi. Adam starting off with the super chat. And of course, you want to go to the front of the line. That's always the best way to do it. Good morning, Mark Baker and Chris. Hope Labor Day weekend was good. What are some of the stuff you teach your students?
Well, I would say I probably key on 4 things the most. I'm a big believer in timing and balance. I have my own way of measuring timing. If I can create those 2 things, I tend to be able to find a lot of accuracy for you. And then I think with these bowling balls today, it's all about controlling the breakpoint. So my 4 things I really focus on is, physically would be timing and balance, which lead to accuracy and breakpoint control. If you're good at those 4 things, you will like bowling.
Sounds pretty fair. Greetings from Nebraska. Hyperdrive versus reality check. I think Hyperdrive Pearl is probably cleaner. I thought that reality check stood up quicker and then got more forward. How far are you booked out for lessons?
Oh, I'm usually like, this week's pretty good. Next week's okay. Anytime within 2 weeks, you can always get in. I'm never like 100% booked out for a whole week. I've always got spots. It's just more about your schedule. So if anybody really wants a lesson, I'm a workaholic, so I'm willing to. I have no problem doing 9 and 10 hour days.
Mika says hi.
One of my favorite guys to coach.
Because you coach him around the same time as me, and it always makes him look better.
True. Nothing wrong with that. He didn't say much. He just gave me the look. I knew it was good when I got the right look in the eye. Slight grunt. Yeah. Yeah. Good. I like. All right. Throw a 12-bagger. You got it.
Thanks, Nico. Guys are wondering. Let's say, what's controlling the breakpoint mean? We've asked that. A couple people have asked that. So.
Well, I have I put my name on a thing called the Baker box. I kind of teach that on house shots. I'm very into a specific spot on the lane where I think the ball reacts the best from. 5, 6, 7, 8, between 42 and 46 feet. And I think, when they talk about the 6 degrees of entry angle, that, I put tape on the lane at 45 feet between 4.5 and 9.5 board. I try to teach breakpoint control because it teaches 3 things. For one, accuracy. 2, consistency of release to get your ball to a very specific spot. And more importantly, I think the toughest thing to teach in bowling is feedback. So if your ball's constantly hitting the right spot down lane, and it's obviously hitting the pocket, you bowl well. But if you're getting your ball to the spot where you think is the right spot, and you're not carrying, it's the wrong ball. If you're getting the ball, it's hooking before it gets there, you're too far right. If it's not hooking, you're too far left. So understanding that breakpoint is more about feedback on how to make your next move, whether it's a move on the lane or switching balls. Because if you're throwing it constantly through the same place, it's not your physical game. So that's what I'm trying to do, help bowlers make decisions so they stop guessing. Hey, I'm going to move left and try this ball. The odds of that working usually aren't very good. Like, well, I did that exactly what I wanted. I'm going to move left, ball up, I got this. And they throw the ball the same place, it gets the right reaction, and they're off to the races. So I'm very much into bowlers don't know distance very well. When they come to my training center and I ask them to go down the lane, and, I'm very fortunate where I coach. You've been there, Chris. There's access anywhere you want down there. Go show me where 45 feet is. I'd say 1 out of 50 people can actually get it, discounting you who knew it before anybody else. A lot of pros come down and get it wrong. So that's your playing surface.
So
you need to know distance.
The foul line, where can they find what's 45 feet?
So, the tricky part is not that many centers have the down lane markers. It seems to be on TV there for a while. All you guys bowled on down lane markers. So it's a very easy thing to teach. The far right down or far left down lane marker, the deepest one, is on board 10 at 40 to 43 feet. So I'm always putting my tape 2 feet past that marker. The tricky part is when you bowl at centers with no markers. The best thing I can tell you is the scanners tend to be pretty generic at 49 feet 5 inches. So you bring your eyes back about 4 or 5 feet from there. That's the 45-foot distance. And at the foul line, if you look at 5 board and 10 board, the first 2 dots, and draw your eyes down, that's kind of where the tape is. Mm-hmm. That's the best I can come up with it. Now, the real tricky part is on string pins, they don't have scanners. Oh. So I would have to coach at a string pin center for a while to come up with something, because I took Gage to Gardena Bowl, who has string out here in Southern California, just to see the difference in the carry, which there was. But there's no scanners because they don't keep score that way. So that would be I would have to learn something new for that.
Wow. All right. Well, that's let's give that some thought. Because you can't ever see the panels all the time.
Man, your eyes have to. My eyes are 64 years old, and so I get it. Some people come in, they're like, oh, I can see the panel, no problem. And the average person is like, what's a panel? So I think it's very tricky in our sport that we don't have distance, because, if you think of football, it's like not knowing where 45 feet is like playing football and not knowing how long a first down is. Hey, ref, we got 7 yards. How we do? You get to kick again. So you kind of want to know. So if it's too bad the bowling centers didn't have a little number down there somewhere, because it really does matter. Because the entry angle of the pins, how my ball goes through pins, my ball didn't go through the pins. That term gets used every day, and it's correct. But how it goes through the pins really determines where it hooks from, especially on house shots. 90% of the bowlers I coach don't bowl sports shots. So if you got the higher end bowlers, on sports shot, that doesn't work. I have a different system for sports shots. If you want that, you got to come to the training center. But for most house shots are generic. It's between 40 and 44 feet. 23 to 32 mils, 6-to-1 ratio or higher. So that's why I kind of made my one spot there. I can help to create that 6 degrees of entry angle. And I have had, quite a bit of success. People, especially at my bowling camps, we put the tape on the lane. For one thing, we put the tape on the lane. Doug Ken always proves that when the bowlers know where the tape is on day 2 of the camp, they break the lanes down much better because they don't get so far left so fast. Most people are like, I never thought my ball would hook back from there, and it does fairly easy. And I don't ask Jerry Francomano at Sunset Station what the pattern is. I just put it down there. I was in Northern California last week. I went to 4 different centers. I put the tape in the same place. They're asking me to come back. So it tends to work pretty much everywhere. Because really, if you think of it, reverse engineering it, the pins are static. The pins are in the same place every building in the world. So if you talk about 6 degrees, that's just math. You can't change the 6 degrees because the pattern changed. 6 degrees is 6 degrees. So I'm trying to help more people understand that. Then obviously on sports shots, it moves around quite a bit.
Someone wants to know if you still give Walter Ray the business for the 1986 King Louis Open ending.
Well, I would never give him the business. He gave it to me. Why? I just say thank you. I mean, unfortunately for the rest of the world, I think that's the last time Walter Ray tried to slow hook it. I think Walter Ray said, I'm just going to throw it hard and straight, see how that worked out for him. So obviously, whatever I did for him worked out better for him.
What happened in that show?
That was an ugly, ugly show. I had bowled really, really good the first three. Nobody ever mentions that I shot like seven. They were hard, and I shot like 760 the front three. I beat Husted. I think it was Mike Jasnow's first show, and Mark McDowell's first show. I ran those guys over pretty good, and I bowled Walter, and I got ahead early and missed a few spares here. I opened in the 9th and 10th. I whiffed the 2-8 back to back, pretty solid. Then Walter Ray was lost, struck in the 8th and 9th, I think. He just needed a spare in the 10th, and he threw it wide and left the 2-8-10, then knocked out the 2, left an 8-10, and I won. It was an ugly finish. So he was trying to really slow hook like a blue dot. I mean, it was what he was throwing. They were ugly from out. And so I got him.
Everybody thinks he threw it straight. There was a bunch of shows there in the 80s.
He tried to slow hook it.
He was hooking it all the time, right. And then he figured out that under the gun, he threw it way.
He said that's never going to happen again. I think the very next week he led and won in Washington D.C. And then that was '86. He ended up being Player of the Year that year. And then Walter made a lot of shows and bowled really, really good the next 3-4 years and never had the many wins. And then the reactor resin came out.
Like he might have not actually won, but he made he made a bunch of shows.
Oh, he was. I mean, anytime it was right of 9, you were going to bowl Walter on the show. He was. I mean, I went to the horseshoe tournaments to watch him throw horseshoes. That's all real when he was younger. I mean, that was real stuff.
Yeah,
so his hand-eye coordination was a little. It was a little higher than the rest of us. And Walter had. I mean, obviously now Walter will bowl you in a 5-gamer for $50. He don't care. Walter's desire to win is fairly impressive. So once he figured out how to go straight and do what he did, Walter didn't need a whole lot of help, and he figured it out. And obviously his career, one of the greatest, he's in the top 2 or 3 of all time. However you want to throw those 2-3 guys in the air, wherever they land.
Question: what kind of cover stocks do I prefer? I tend to prefer, if I could, I want the opposite of what other people. I want super clean through the front, and I want control in the back end. So, I can make it pick up, but I guess like everyone else, I like covers that get through the front without, you want responsive, but you don't want response to the front lane. And today we're really getting very close back to what they were in the 90s with these older wood surfaces and Guardian and things like that. Well, the surfaces now are synthetic, but they're all beat up. And the current theory has been to not really put a lot of oil in the front of the lane. And so the more responsive the covers are, the more they see they actually start trying to change directions in the front. And that's not good if you're not a high speed player or high rotation player or lofted a little bit.
So you're saying I would bowl good now? Back in my time.
You would dominate. I would take what you do over what I do about, 97% of the time right now, I think.
I like the houses that hooked early when in my wheelhouse was when I bowled good all the houses that hooked early and stopped.
You and I, if we bowled doubles together back in the day, both at our prime, we would not miss the finals probably ever, but would finish 12th a lot.
Because the first 4 you would own them and the last 4 I'd get them, but we would never shoot many 500s. We would shoot a lot of 450s with one guy shooting 2-0.
Yeah, 240, 2-0. And then the banker would be tricky with strike spare.
Yeah, it better not be. I'm depending on the spare shot. I would always get the easy lane, so that's too bad for you. Yeah, because you would never pick Earl Anthony's house to be your favorite place to bowl doubles.
Oh,
that was by far my favorite center, by far.
No, other than his name being on the building, that was the best part about it.
No, I bowled good there. Had a 1st, 2nd, 6th, 8th, 10th, 1-2 regionals, 5 or 6 300s. Hooked early and stopped. That's what I like to bowl on. David, I threw it hard and I had a lot of rotation.
How can I work on not collapsing on the 3rd step? I am a 2-handed bowler.
Well, the way you want to look at that is like it's a swing set. So 2-hander is very easy. The analogy of a swing set, your shoulders are the bar. So if you collapse on the third step, think about putting it, you push it on the second step, obviously. So that's very important because the third step, if you look at Belmonte, especially Jason, how his third step's fairly straight. And if you watch, like I'm on the video, if you go to markbakerbowling.com, click on the Game Change video, there's a 2-handed video, and I spend a lot of time on this. What Jason is so good at, or was, and he is that when his third step's fairly straight, that's the part where you push the kid out on the swing set and the kid swings back. So what I find with almost every 2-hander I give a lesson to virtually or in person, the first 2 steps aren't bad. They don't collapse too much, but they try to get low early. So when you collapse your third step, your shoulders drop. So the kid can't swing back on the swing set. So you push your kid out and the bar got dropped a foot or two, the kid can't swing. So what happens in that scenario is, and I see it every day, if you collapse your third step in a 5-step approach 2-handed, now you have to create your backswing because your shoulders dropped. So now you have to pull it up. And so when you pull it down, that's when your head gets too far forward, your weight transfers onto your left leg too soon. Your right leg's not your power source, your right shoulder is, and then you have a very hard time with your balance and getting your ball to roll, not come over the top, so your direction is not very good. All I ever work on with 2-handers is their timing and their balance and a little bit of accuracy. I don't ever work on their release. If I get their body position correct, their hands do the magic. So that third step collapsing is very, very, it doesn't help it makes your swing short. Think of it this way. You want your head to drop after the ball goes by your right hip. If your head drops before the ball goes by your right hip, you're making your arm short. That's not how you bowl. That's how your body functions. Remember, every time you bowl, there's 2 things at play. Throwing a bowling ball, how your body functions. This is my thing. Why are the pros so good? Because the pros, they use their body functionally correct every time, so they're not under stress. There's 2 things involved when you throw a bowling ball. There's a stress of your physical game, and there's a stress of picking which ball to throw on the pattern you're bowling on. Pros have a third stressor, their mortgage, the greatest stressor of all time. When you got to pay your bills throwing your bowling ball, you can't have any stress in your physical game. That's why pros look like it's so easy, because they've taken the stress out of the game, because they have to be able to repeat to pay the bills. So same thing, back to your question. If you collapse that third step, you're putting stress into your swing early. It makes it hard to make your release and your accuracy very consistent when you add stress early in your approach. Did you freeze? Okay. Did you hear? Did that come? Oh, hopefully all that came across.
No. I think that's even at the pro level. I think that's one of the things that goes wrong most often is you a little bit of collapsing. It comes out a little different. It's not maybe but you get a little forward in the middle. You get a little. I think guys tend to throw their shoulder at it a little quick sometimes, and
yeah, I mean they're trying to get ahead of it. But if I would say the 3 1-handers I use the most as examples are anybody that's over 6 foot tall, Bill O'Neill, and if they want current, Chris Prather. And it's amazing how many, I call them markers, how many of the markers, all 3 of you have the same markers. You guys, no 2 bowlers throw the ball in the world the same. I know there's coaches probably do more lessons than I do, and there's not many of them, but I do a lot. I've done 30,000 lessons in 16 years. I've never said to another bowler, wow, you look like somebody who was here last week. The only people who ever got close were a couple guys got close to you. Zerbinski and Blanchard patterned their games after you. They kind of look like you. I thought Mike Machuga did a pretty good job of trying to look like Duke or Voss. Other than that, I can't really name anybody who looks like somebody else. Everybody's individual. So your guys' markers, your third steps are all locked out. Bill O'Neill, Chris Prather, and Chris Barnes. If those are the 3 guys you're looking at for a good physical game, you could do a lot worse than you 3. I mean, there's not a lot of people arguing how bad your physical games were. And the markers show up at your guys' third step because that second step being tall and that third step, that's what stabilized your shoulder. So you guys had the least amount of effort to get the ball to the top of your swing. Another way of looking at it, in the first 2 or 3 steps in a bowling approach, you're not really bowling. You're just walking. You're walking and putting an object into a swing. When the ball gets to the top of your swing and you drop your hips, you start creating leverage, you measure timing, you got to create accuracy, you got to put a move on it, you got to have rev rate. Those where the bowling terms show up. So bowling isn't really bowling the first 2 steps. You're just walking down the street, putting something in your swing. When it gets to the top of your backswing, now bowling starts. That's how I see it. So there should be the least amount of effort to get at the top of your backswing because you're not really bowling. There are no pins behind you. So a lot of effort getting the ball going up there. No pins in the ceiling, no pins behind you. Swing shimmy going back very fast.
Interesting. Justin, thanks for watching the show. Yes, indeed. On the last show, I said that's a giant red flag, but let's see if I'm wrong. Hi, Bakes. Chris said that he doesn't believe in sometimes things got to get worse before they get better. Do you agree in any scenario?
No, because I tried that with a golf coach. I got that same line of, bullshit when I was never a good golfer. I hung out with good golfers. I hung out with, Frank Ellenberg and Dave Husted and Marshall Holman and Jeff Bellinger. 4 of the top 10 golfers in history of the Pro Bowlers Tour, those guys were. So I just thought golf was easy because the guys I hung out with were all scratch. I didn't know how hard it was, so I started playing myself. So I go to a golf pro at Mile Square Park. About this time, I was a high average on the tour. So I started hitting balls, and I can shoot around 90. How do I do this and this? And he starts giving me the whole thing. So there's 10 different things he talked about. I went, can you just put them in order? I got really good hand-eye coordination, as good as anybody you're going to coach. I don't get it. Which one's the most important? Well, they're all equally important. So now I can't even tee the ball up. I'm hitting ground balls now. He goes, you realize this is how it works, right? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you got to get worse before you get better. So me being me, I just ripped out $1,000 out of my pocket, said, here's $1,000. How much worse, how long, and how much better do I get if I give you the 1,000? And he goes, well, you can't answer that. I went, then you should never say it. So I told myself then and there, if I ever coach, I am never, ever, 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 ever using that. And I don't, if that was how I coached, I would have stopped being a coach 15 years ago. And this is my 16th year. There's no way people are coming back to you if they get worse. Don't worry about it. Sooner or later, you'll hit the head pin. Don't sweat it. I know it's been 2 months and you've dropped 500 with me. Sooner or later, your ball will actually hit the one in the front. Who's buying into that? So I don't teach that way. That's not how I was taught. I had coaches. I the 2 guys that helped me the most in the 2 sports that I play besides bowling, basketball and baseball. One was my jump shot. One had hit an off-speed pitch. They explained. I tried to do a very good job. My goal as a coach, if I'm going to ask you to do something different, I'm going to explain to you why what you're currently doing is not getting the results you want. I struck all my life. That's all I was ever good at. So I get what you're trying to do. I get it. So if you're not getting the results, why? So when I ask you to do something, it's going to be, hey, that felt better. It was easier. So I'm not much of that getting worse for you get better. I'm about explaining why you're not getting what you want. And here's the things we have to do to get what you want. And invariably within half hour, people start throwing shots like, hey, that's rolling better. My balance is better. And most importantly, it's easier and I don't hurt. You're amazed how many people come in for lessons now. I'd say 40% have some kind of body pain going on because they like to bowl and they're doing it not efficiently with their body. So they're really hurting themselves. So a lot of what I do is take away pain.
Makes sense. Cheesard. Does having the power step in front or behind of the third step matter? Packy has it behind and Simo has it in front. I think that's an interesting interpretation, but what does it affect?
That's only for 2-handers. Make sure you say that. I've never seen a one-hander have what he's saying is the length of their third step, Packy's next step doesn't get past it.
Yeah, his skip
Whereas
step.
if you look, so I think Jason's is pretty even, slightly in front, and Anthony actually has one in front. So I've never really worked with Packy, so I couldn't. I think Packy does that because he's so long. I mean, Packy's got long legs and long levers. I think if his pivot step got long, he'd have nowhere to slide. And I don't think he slides; he plants, right? Then he worked. Yeah, I've never worked with Packy, so I've never really worked with anybody that has their pivot step.
He has a little bit of a slide, I believe. I think he used to be a plant guy, but
he's got such long levers.
Yeah,
I think it's because of the length that Packy's one of the taller two-handers, if not the tallest. Packy's a pretty tall dude.
Him and Jesper.
So I think Jesper. So Jesper's kind of that lateral little move he makes. So unless I've worked with those guys and I don't really use them for my, I had access to Anthony Simonsen, obviously Jason Belmonte on my video, and I always use Belmonte. I mean, he's physically correct. Jason is functionally correct when he bowls. And I always like how Jason's not very good anymore. I'm like, well, he had the most top 25s, second points, third money. A lot of guys like to have a bad year like him and another title. That is the how good he bowled for such a long time. When that's considered an off year, it's a year that I never had a year that good. Well, maybe I did. Maybe I might have had 1 year if all the stars lined up. His off year, was my best year of all time. So that's how good Jason is. But the way he bowls is very easy to teach. The way Simonsen bowls is very tricky to teach. You got to have a lot of hand-eye coordination to bowl like Anthony. I've been very fortunate to work with Anthony a couple times. That's I would say Anthony Simonsen is this generation's Mark Roth. He's just got more touch. He can do things with a bowling ball, and he's like, well, why doesn't everybody else do that? Mark Roth just did stuff that none of us knew how to do. And he just made it like, well, I don't understand why you don't just get your feet a little faster when you're nervous and just feather it off to the right. Like, what? Yeah, I get my feet fast on purpose, and I just feather it right. That way my ball just stays in the bottom half of the pocket. What? I should go be a bond trader or sell pharmaceuticals or something. Legally. But so Simonsen, I work with him, is like, he's doing things like, why did you do that? Because of this. I'm like, never crossed my mind to do that. And it made complete sense when he said it. So to me, and then, Mark was very, very good at working on lane machines. When I was at my training center, Simonsen was in the back messing with my machines, making the ball not have a, second cycle and speeding up this and touching that. And I mean, Anthony's a savant. He's this generation's Mark Roth.
He knows a lot about bowling stuff.
So did Mark. Mark, yeah, is exactly right. That's how I look at it. Just a different level of intelligence.
Phil Doubtright, which is our buddy Richie Allen, he says, "What's up, Cap? That 86 show against Walter is speaking of people who are a little Rain Man-ish about stuff that's happened on TV."
When you only win 4 times, you tend to remember what happened every time. If you ask Chris or you ask Walter, hey, how'd you win your 24th title? Like, dude, I don't even know what the 24th title was. When you only win 4, pretty much know where I was on all of them.
The ticker across the bottom, that's your Vimeo. You have a couple of videos out right now that anybody can access.
It's been out for about 1.5 years. It's still doing pretty well. The one-handed video has outsold the two-handed video quite a ways, but obviously, as much as everybody thinks the two-handers are taking over, for my percentages, it's not even close. So a lot of kids do two-handed. The adults, it's still 90% one-handed, 20%, 10% two-handed. So yes, the two-handed video is very good. The one-hand is wood. And also the one that's probably got the most popular, I did a 7-minute video with Dave Husted for the seniors, the do's and don'ts for seniors. If you go to Vimeo or you go to my website and click on it, that's for free. So I've gotten more feedback from seniors on the free video, the do's and don'ts, than anything else. So my job is to help as many bowlers as possible. That was another revenue. I did the book. I did a DVD with you, Chris, and Tommy, and Linda, and Barry. And now I did the video on demand. So I keep trying, but, getting old enough. Not too many projects left.
Keith Harris, thanks for the super chat. I feel that my biggest issue is staying tall. Is this common for clients? I feel like I get steep on the 3rd step, and it's downhill from there where I'm too far forward on my pivot step. I'm a one-handed righty. Welcome to the club.
I make a living off that.
It's the thing and I work on the most.
100%.
Yeah.
Especially tall bowlers, right? You get a little steep, you get that weight transfer a little far forward. So then your back leg's not quite engaged like it was on your good shots. So it really affects the entry angle of the ball in the front part lane. You would get steep and your ball would land by the foul line, so it would read early. And you were so good hitting your target, then your ball would read or it wouldn't read. And then you would get your shoulders up and throw one good to get it on the lane. And that's when you had some of the shots on TV that you ace at big forward because you'd moved off balls that didn't hook. Once we kind of addressed that, you had a really good run on TV.
Yeah, I met you too late.
You just didn't make as many shows as you once did.
6 or 8 shows a year. That would have been, it turned out a little differently.
But that's very common.
Some guys are asking where you're located. You're down in...
I'm in Orange County, California. I'm 1 exit from Anaheim Stadium. I'm 10 minutes from Disneyland. It's been a very fortunate place to coach. Very, very lucky to have the access to that. But the Disneyland is definitely, I've given a lot of lessons to a lot of dads who are forking out $1,000 a day for their family to be doing the multi-day pass over there at Disneyland. And they sneak over like, how are they going to get mad at me for $140? I've already dropped $1,000 on going to Disneyland. So very fortunate where it is. It's right off the 57 in Ball. It's in the heart of Orange County where all the freeways come together. I think this year I've had 40 different people from 40 different states have come to the training center. So it's, I'd say I'm up to like 15 different countries. A lot of Ireland and Malaysia and Japan, a lot of Hong Kong, a lot of Singapore. They've all come over. A lot of people from the Philippines. I'd say that's probably number one. We have a large Filipino population in Southern California, so they come to see family. So I've been very fortunate. A lot of states, Indiana, who's ever, I know Mr. Tackett has said some nice things about me. I do appreciate it, EJ. I've had a lot of bowlers from Indiana show up, so that's been it's just great when they come in because they're there to work and it's a blast, and they're from all over. So it's been a very cool place to work. What's
throw
that?
It better. Ball reps advice. Throw it better.
Sometimes it's all you can say, but.
So as a two-hander, we have kind of the same idea, and tilt tends to go lower once I start to slide, and will go up at release. How do I keep my torso still and level? And do they need to?
You don't really need to. If you watch Belmonte, he's really clean through the bottom of the ball. So when the ball gets to past the dots before the arrows, Jason comes up out of his shot. And whereas Anthony kind of just stays there, Jason throws it, and his momentum kind of bleeds him up a little bit. Their back legs, he comes up off the ground, his head comes up. So it's more about that bottom of your swing, keeping your head down. After it comes off your hand, you're more, because you have so much tilt. Yes, after it comes off your hand, the ball's past the dots and your head comes up. I don't find that to be a problem. Because that way, the thing I look at is, have you finished your follow through? If you finish your follow through, then you stand up, or what people call falling off. I call it stepping off. Falling off is when before you finish your swing, you step to the right. If you finished your swing, the ball's past the arrows and you step off, that has no effect on the ball. If you're in the middle of your follow through, you're stepping to the right, that tends to hurt your accuracy and your consistency of release.
Let's see. I got to catch up on a couple of these. GSP. I had 3 hours of lessons last year with Mark at the center. I had a great time. One-handed 550 RPMs, 17 to 18 at the pins, or you're matched too. So, but you throw on heaters. Yep.
It's always interesting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What balls and pin placement should I fit around the Ion Max and 7 Zen 25? How much axis rotation does he have? And that probably determines a little bit of it. But, I mean, that much ball speed, you can draw fairly normal 4.5, 5-inch pins. I don't think, as much early friction as there is for the most part. I don't know. There's not a ton of lower. You might go with a little bit lower pin on the Zen 25, but I doubt it. In general, you're going to end up with 4.5 to 5-inch pins. So Ion Max probably 5x4x2, and go ahead and just get it up high and let it flare. And then the Zen maybe slightly stronger, or you could go with a 5x3 by 2.5 or so and flatten it out just a little bit. That is where I would go. That's to fit around. I'm sorry. So, yeah, Equinox has been a pretty good ball, especially two-handers have really liked that ball. Nothing special, just but pin up, and then at that speed, I would say Optimum Idle Ryan's a big fan of that one too when he wants to be firm, because you get a lot of that control shape. A little bit too much control for one-handers without your rev rate, but with your rev rate, no problem. It'll give you a little cleaner than Ion Max part and a little more back end off of it, but that's a small step down. That'll fit in between that. I would do Equinox and Optimum Idle, and then that'll put 2 balls in between Ion Max and Zen 25. David, for some reason, I'm able to get to a perfect elbow, forearm, and hand position when I joke around playing backup, but when I play regular, I struggle to get it close to my ankle with the hand on the inside. Have you seen this?
No, I never see too many. I mean, I only have a couple people that throw backup balls that are that tend to hook it. I have one kid that's really good at it. So those are kind of things I have to see.
Yeah, but when he plays regular, then he's not close to his ankle. So his backup,
right? Because when he's back up, his shoulders are in a different position.
Yeah, your shoulder has to stay back
Right. So then your elbow tucks in naturally.
To throw
So then you're
back
square.
up.
Yeah. Right. So then your breastplate.
Shoulder's not staying back when you're
Correct.
throwing it normal. And once that shoulder goes forward, the elbow follows it, your head follows it.
Right.
And then everything comes on the outside of it.
It's pretty easy to stay on the inside throwing a backup ball. If you don't stay on the inside, it ain't backing up.
Yeah, you can't do it.
Right.
And your hand is definitely on the inside of it.
Yep.
Which I think is a little bit tough to define, but it gets used. That phrase gets tossed around a lot these days.
Well, they're on the inside on the top of their swing and on their downswing. Nobody's on the inside of release. Not that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, the best release in the history of our sports is Guy Tackett. His release is just as good as it gets, and he's right in the middle of it just a little bit to the right of the dead center at release. He's not on the inside.
Yeah.
It's a cool saying. I'll give Randy that. I mean, it's a cool saying, but I'm not sure I think people tend to focus on that earlier, like my newer bowlers. Mm-hmm. Hi, coach, I'm 120. If I could just work the inside of the ball, I'd go to 200. No, if you're 120, you're not hitting the pin nearest you often enough. A great release with no accuracy is like a guy who can hit it 300 yards, but can't keep it in the driving range, so he can't break 100. They get it in the wrong order. I want to work on the yo-yo and I'm a 100 average bowler. I want to work on the yo-yo. Well, right now, you can't do remedial math. You're having a hard time getting out of third grade, and you want to go to MIT and do string math in the third year. Let's kind of put some things in order. And guess what? That yo-yo release will get there. I get it. The chicks dig the long ball. I get it. They want to hook the hell out of it. 100% what I did when I was a kid. I could actually kind of get it somewhere near arrow I was looking at first. So you got to kind of put them in order. 45 feet of lane is based on accuracy. Only 15 feet is based on shape. So it has to be played out in that order. No matter how good your release is, if you can't hit the right spot, control the break point at 45 feet, then a great release just magnifies how much room you have. EJ's pretty accurate before all the good stuff happens.
Other than it depends, and Stu's in England right now, so that's not the go-to. How much bend in the arm is recommended for two-handers?
See, some two-handers don't bend it at all. To me, it's very tricky because two-hand is still fairly new. Two-hand is only a 20-year-old thing. And there's, Kyle Troop's arms are pretty straight. I think Ryan's are pretty straight, aren't they?
Yeah, relative to
most people. Then you got Belmo has the box. Simon has them straight for a little bit, then a bend. So I'm still studying it. I mean, it's still, I don't think one's better than the other yet. It hasn't been around long enough to like, okay, this percentage that bend it are the top guys, and the guys that straight don't ever cash. You can't say that.
It's a little the same tendency. So guys that have longer, straighter arms tend to be higher speed. Mm-hmm. The guys with more bend, I mean, you could say the same with one-handers. Bob Vespi had the most bend of anybody, probably,
right,
and threw it the slowest for his referee. Yep. And if you think of Gary Dickinson or Janela or something, even Walter Ray, very long.
Right.
Very little bend, and we're on the firmer side of it. So I think those two somewhat go together. And guys like Simo do a little of both when he wants to.
Simo's arms are longer than, if you measure yourself, if you took Simo's height and then you turn around, because we just did gauge, my son, because he's gotten so unbelievably tall, but he played basketball last year, you get a lot of blocks and your hands on a lot of passes. So I said, no, measure your arms because you're supposed to be, I think it's called an ectomorph or something. You're supposed to measure how long your height to your width. Like Jerry West was a good example. 6'3", but his arms were 6'8".
Your span is basically the same as your height.
Right.
NBA guys, 85% of them
are all longer.
3 to 6 inches longer.
That's why they always say this guy's got great length. No, the dude just got long arms. He ain't got length. He's got long arms.
Yeah.
Gage falls in that category. He's 6'4.5" right now. So he's taller than I am. I think his wingspan's right at 6'8". So we're always trying to find somewhere to hide his arms when he bowls. I think Anthony Simonsen has that. I think his arms are longer than his height, which is a huge, great advantage for two-handers. The two-handers that really struggle are guys that have on the shorter end of arms. It's very hard to get their opposite arm far enough back to get in time. If that left arm's short and you can't get it past your right hip, then it's tricky. You can do it, but it's definitely trickier.
Yeah.
So the two-handed thing, that's a very good question, and I'm still studying it because it's still, think about it. it's very new. I mean, it's had a great impact on our sport, but it's still fairly new to the sport.
So based off that, I would say it depends. It does depend, but it's relative to your skill set. So if you
Correct.
struggle with the ball hooking too much, then less bend is where you would want to
100% agreement. Yep.
And vice versa. If you struggle with, if you're one of the few two-handers that struggles with too much speed.
I don't have that issue. There's a guy who gives a lot of lefts
to two-handers in the world, I think.
Yeah, I'm not having that. Well, now so that's a good example. You know, when Gage struggled last year a lot, it got to be like, Dad, how come it didn't hook? Because it didn't slow down before it got to Santa Ana. That's the next city past Orange. Dude, you're throwing it 21 miles an hour, but I'm not trying. So then we said, then his arms like, all right, we got to really shorten because he was actually late. I don't get too many two-handers that were late because he got big and strong in a course of about 18 months. So he still had his old arm swing from when he was a little kid trying to throw it 14 miles an hour. All of a sudden he went to throwing it 20-21. So his swing got up. So when his slide foot got in front of his head, his left arm was still up in the air. He was one of the very, very few two-handers I ever coached that was late. So we had to really shorten his swing to get it down where he throws it about 19 on average.
Yeah, you had some issues differently, but with Wesley, because you coached him when he was still 4'2".
Right.
And
when Wesley was
one
littler,
of the best bowlers on the planet of his age.
Then he got taller, then he got stronger, then he got steep. Right. Yeah. So all of a sudden, but he used to have to. He had to max out his body to get it down there. All of a sudden, he found all this free speed because he started working out. He got much taller. He got stronger. Then his ball wouldn't slow down. So it's always about based how your body functions.
Mm-hmm.
That two-handed thing's still very new.
Adam, I don't know where the 52er is going for the World Series of Bowling. It might be going to Anderson or one of his other centers, one of the others, Dave Small's centers. So another big place, but I don't know exactly. I think they might have told us, but I've forgotten. So kind of lay out his phase 2 on the cheetah. I assume the one he broke the record with. I would assume it's pretty strong because he was throwing it about as hard as a human can throw it.
I was there for that.
Ball. That was that's a different
he was
level.
Taking the lane. It looked like he was just taking the entire lane out of play, and he was throwing from his lay down to the pocket was a straight line.
Yeah,
and the more he struck, the more pumped he got, and they just got faster. Because he ate 10 a couple times in that record. He threw it so hard.
Yeah, it was wild.
That was wild.
Forgot to ask Mark Baker this when I worked with him last week. When moving left, do you still walk straight or do you walk parallel to launch?
I'm a big believer in walking straight or left if you're right-handed. I do not believe in walking towards your target. I don't think that works because the balls are so strong, and when the dry gets dry today, it gets so dry. So when you tend to walk right, you're walking towards the hook. It makes the ball pick up too soon. Or another way of looking at it, almost everybody on the tour walks left. I would think the only guys that walked really straight and hit their target were you and Norm. You and Norm are 0-0s. I think Norm slid where he started and hit what he looked. You're one of the very few people I've ever worked with that actually slides where he starts and hits what he looks.
Yeah, Norm would change his swing to match up the planes. He would actually push it left to create a little inside out when he wanted to hook it.
Right.
I didn't do that. I tried to do it with upper body position and by moving my right foot around to get my waist up through my torso, all facing the target. Just two different ways of doing it. It is a little easier to walk left and get your swing to follow you, and you get a little tuck.
Yeah, they tend to.
But it makes me less accurate, so I didn't love that.
Yeah, the way I look at it now, the crossover step isn't really the second step anymore. It's more the third step. So if your third step goes a little left, and then your hips and your breastplate match up with your break point, that realigns your swing for you pretty easy. And that way you're throwing it from A to B on a pretty straight line when you're adding some rotation to it. So I'm a big believer in walking straight or drifting a little left. I don't teach anybody to walk right.
World Series
except left-handers.
Vince Biano says the information's great. And somebody really looking out for Stu. How do you improve your follow-through?
That's cold. Did he just win?
Yeah, he won Simon won. He just happened to be bowling with him. What'd you say?
Part of being a good doubles partner is knowing how to pick your doubles partner. I made a lot of money bowling doubles. I see I bowled Joey Berardi. I bowled with Dave Husted. I bowled with Barry Asher. Yeah, I was pretty sharp. I was a hell of a doubles partner. You know what I always said? I'm good at math. I'll bowl first and do all the scorekeeping. We'll never get fined. We never did. I bowled leadoff.
David, thanks again for the super chat. Thanks for all the help. I've been bowling for 1 year only. I feel like I'm really streaky. Most 5-game blocks I bowl, I have 2 games of 225 plus and 1 or 2 games below 170. I usually bowl on challenge patterns like gateway or beaten path. There's not really a question in there. So if you have a question, but I assume it's probably, I mean, go ahead and tell them what the number one thing, you know, feedback you get on what people want. I think it follows this. You know, when your students come to you, what are they looking for most?
Consistency.
Yeah.
And now number 2 is how to move. That lane play is quickly, consistency always starts a conversation and then is like, okay, now you got to move. And then that's where a lot of bowlers struggle moving. They have their favorite spot and their favorite place to look. And a lot of it is the lane looks good to them there. And then when you adjust, I mean, the trickiest part is getting where you're comfortable on the approach. So when you're standing X, looking X, you think you're going to have success. So I think a lot of bowlers, when they adjust, they should keep track more every time they bowl 20 pins over their average. Just write down where you're standing and looking. You do that for 6 months and you're going to look down like, there's about 8 or 10 places I bowl really good from, then just bowl from those places. So much of it has to do with confidence in your stance. If you think where you're standing and looking is going to work, you're going to throw it good. If you stand there and look at it like, nah, I'm not sure about this, you're not going to throw any good. And too many bowlers try to play the lane where somebody else is telling them where to play. That never works for the simple reason. No 2 bowlers show it the same. No 2 bowlers see the lane the same. And no 2 bowlers have the same feel. So me trying to tell you what I'm doing is a waste of time. How you see it and how I see it, it's the coach's job to understand you, and I just change my math to match your math. That's all I ever do.
Yeah, even in league, if you'll write down, hey, where you're, you know, if you're a guy that's keeping track of games and that, you write down where you're standing game 1 and game 2 and game 3 and watch the progression. And somewhere in there, you're probably getting stuck.
Right.
And you're not moving fast enough. And then when you finally get there, it ends up being a bigger move. If you can imagine yourself making smaller moves in between there to help keep up, you'll find your scores will go up in between. And then lots of times, you know, that's the difference. So you're throwing a bunch of strikes in one game and then you're shooting a bunch of spares and you're not making very many of them.
That's kind of what I try to help some of my bowlers. Like, how do I move? Like, you got to decide. If you like moving, then I would, you know, constantly be making small moves. If you don't like moving, then you have to make big moves. You can't, you can't, it's either a big move or just constantly be moving.
5-man team. It's not unusual for me to move, you know, a half or one. Like if you move half, I move half. So I'll move a half, catch it up, move a half, catch it up, move a half, catch it up. And so throughout a game, I'm moving 2 to 2.5 boards.
Makes sense.
You know, or
the nice part of the training centers, I can take them down the lane after their lesson. Like, hey, I just oiled them. Here's what it looks like. Yeah. Then after an hour, you know, 60 shots in an hour, 50 shots in an hour, we go down the back of the lane and they start seeing where that giant hole is between 8 and 12 they burned up. But then they also see how much oil's now past the pattern all the way into the pin deck. Now here's why your ball picks up early and stops on the back. And most people are like, I had no idea. Now people come after the 6th or 7th lesson on a busy day. Like tomorrow, I think I've got 7 hours straight, and they're all pretty good bowlers. So I'll take the last guy. I want to bowl them when they dead hook. So I'll take him down and show him the difference what the lane looked like when we start and what a lane looks like after 50, you know, after 400 or 500 shots. It ain't the same lane. So you can't play the lanes. You can't. There has to be some changes made with bowling balls and angles and, you know, how you release it. Yeah. I think the lanes change dramatically more now because the balls are so strong and the way the oils react to it. And people watch other people, so they all tend to play in the same place. So lanes do change way more now than my era. We went from first arrow to fifth arrow like you guys. We just didn't do it in 2 games.
Right.
It took us 20, you know, 6 game round, A squad 6, B squad 6, A squad 6, then B. When you got to the 20th game, they were playing fifth arrow. Yeah. You guys do it. I've been to practice session. You guys do it in 45 minutes.
Game 3, game 4. Yeah.
It's crazy how fast you guys break a lane.
The one thing that Urethane does do is because it's not peeling it off the lane, it's transferring it down the lane. It does hold up better. Obviously not as good as polyester did, but it's still on the lane. It's just the patterns are going from 39 feet to 41 to 43 to 45 feet. And then
when you go down a lane, Chris, when that urethane is a good question. When you go down a lane, somebody's throwing urethane in my place. What happens to me, the difference is there's little marks. And they're about maybe an inch and a half long, a little curly Q look to them where the oil's changing direction. The streaks are maybe 2 inches. The urethane, the streaks are longer, and they're a little bit thicker. But I also have my people come down, the guy threw urethane, like, okay, he happened to hit the head pin a lot, he'd hit the pocket a lot. You realize if you just get right of him at the break point, they're dead walled. Because you literally can't go high, because the urethane guy, if you get a urethane guy going Brooklyn and you don't bowl good, that's on you. There's so much oil at the head pin, like, you can't go high, you just can't play where they're playing.
This
so
is
the urethane does
is the guys on tour now, they use urethane till the pattern gets to 44 feet.
Yeah, they stretch it out. Right. They create their own hold.
It gets to 44 feet, then they go to reactive because now they have hold. That gets their hold at 12, 13, at 12, and then they can play 7, 8, 9. And they just go around that spot. So if it starts at 41 or 2, maybe it's a game, maybe 2.
39 feet, 2 or 3 games, right?
36 or 37 feet, it might be 3 games.
Right.
But as soon as you shove it far enough down there, then it's just reactive and it's bombs away. It's 40, 43, 44. They might not throw it at all because they already have it built in.
I see that when people bring urethane, especially the first lesson or two, because it really does have an effect how my day goes, whether I have to re-oil them or not, who the first 2 lessons are. So if I have seniors that like to play between 5 and 10 and they're keeping it at the head pin, my lanes get pretty good. I don't have to oil them. If I start out with, if I had the first 2 lessons were Simo and Barn and Ryan, lesson 3, I got to re-oil them.
If they're playing not even,
well, they just rip it off so fast, and they move, and they tend to move quicker. So yeah, the seniors start my day, my lanes tend to hold up for the 7, 8 hours. If not, then I tend to have to re-oil them in the middle. So it does matter who bowls in front of you. But the urethane, if they do it, if the urethane's done and the person behind the urethane does it right, that's as easy as my house ever gets. Now, conversely, if you get a guy throwing urethane and they're struggling and they're leaving a lot of washouts and 2-8-10s, that is not the guy to bowl behind. Those get a little touchy because all of it, there's so much hang to the right.
Well, and then two-handers, if you're throwing purples and you're actually throwing it all the way to the gutter, then there is no place to get right of it. And
right.
That really gets. I know that board.
It's very interesting going down.
We'll probably know sometime this week what they decided.
Oh, is that going to be it? Because obviously when that got brought up, every single person that took a lesson for the first 2 weeks, that was the initial, hey, how you doing? What about urethane? First thing I said, do you actually own a urethane?
I think there's going to be a 78 rule, or they might take it completely out of play.
See, from a guy in my standpoint, it's kind of irrelevant because I'd say less than 5% of the people I coach bring urethane in. Yeah. The only people that really throw a lot of urethane are people that bowl tournaments.
Well, I don't think that's going to affect the league level. They're not going to take balls away from anybody. This is my opinion. I don't know what they decided. But I don't see them filtering it down that far. But at the tournament level and where that starts, I don't know either. Could that start
that's
at local and state tournaments, or would it just be national tournaments like Junior Gold, Collegiate Bowling, and then U.S. Open Masters, and then obviously the Ladies Tour? My feeling is that's probably where it's going to go, and then if they do, that's where the application of whatever the rule is.
So then, if they ban urethane, I know you're probably not going to bowl on tour next year much, but if they ban urethane, can I just pay your entry fee for all the tournaments that are 38 feet or shorter?
Well, I might work a little harder about seeing about.
Well, think about it. They take away urethane. They take away urethane from all the big boys on the short patterns. How much better are you? How much better will your scores look, even if you don't change your scores? If those guys with them high 500 rev rates don't get to use urethane, that makes you look pretty good.
We had a talk at the Battle of the Brands, and Tyler's down there, and so no urethane was allowed because not all the brands had urethane, and so he's like, "Well, why don't you just do that?" And I go, "Well, I can, but by the end of practice, it's almost already irrelevant." You know, the common thing, hey, short pin, basically 2-inch pin. Yeah, it's great. But the thing that those balls do is they control the back end. But as the oil gets down there, that makes those balls completely useless.
Because it's overly controlled.
Yeah, it's controlling to something that's now 43 feet. Well, now
Right.
it just backs up and you can't. So, anyway, yes, David, that is very common. Your question, which is we answered for a while. It's because do you challenge your bowlers after your training session? I know the answer to this. You haven't thrown a ball in about 4 years.
Me personally, no.
Yeah.
Gage started giving me a beat down. I mean, I started having to ask for an extra game. Then I turned into a 5-framer. I first guy to strike. It just got ugly. And then what really happened was the training center, when I'm not there, it's a warehouse, so it gets fairly warm there at night or on the weekends. I had 2 balls. I had a Zensol and a Physics, and they both cracked. So to me, that was a sign that I'm officially done. I haven't thrown a ball in I don't have a ball. So yeah. I don't hurt either. I don't see me bowling anytime soon. I don't think I'm going into pro shop again and drilling a ball. That was never my favorite thing to do. But Gage retired me. He just put it on me and he's been bowling pretty good there for the last 7-8 months. That's not even. Yeah, that's over.
Parallel universe. I got a kid that's doing the same thing to me.
Yeah. I was never as good as you though. It was much easier for me to quit. So, yeah, I just have noticed. I don't. I still like throwing the ball and they fall over. It's great. If I throw a double, I don't want to bowl anymore. They've always fallen down. I've always been hit the pocket. I've always been able to throw a strike here and there. But I just like coaching better, and then I like the fact that I don't hurt.
We have a couple questions here before we let you go. But this is Sean Ryan. Reactive is ruining the game. Everyone should use the same ball. Now everyone is using the same ball, and it's ruining the game. #bowlers.
Welcome to bowling.
Stu says bowlers are the most versatile guys on the planet. They can find anything to complain about.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's every sport has a little bit of that. So the golf stuff.
Actually. One really good question. Let me see. Have you ever coached anyone with a visual impairment? I believe this guy commented up earlier that said he was 90%.
Yeah.
And what do you do?
All I do is I have to find out how far they can see, and then are they aware where they slide? Mm-hmm. If I can get them to slide, and I know where they slide every time, and they're fairly, their swing is here, and they can hit, how far away from if they slide on 21 and they go over 11 every time, once I know that, then I get them dialed into their feet, and I kind of let them look there. I mean, I can, almost look back to the dots or almost to the foul line, so I can find where they can see to. I just got to make sure their drift's the same every time. Then it's not very hard.
Okay. Hey, Kelly Bonta and Vince Biondo both know how we feel.
What's that? Getting old, yeah. Well, I'd imagine there's a lot of us dads our day came and went.
He says that's actually not what he meant. He meant, do you give your students challenges to continue their development after training with you?
No, I never have a game plan. I don't ever do stuff like that. I coach by the seat of my pants. So I want them to go out, they bowl, and they tell me what they when they walk in the door, 95% bowlers are very smart about their own games. As I quit bowling and got better at asking questions, within 5 minutes, I know what we're working on because they tell me exactly what they're good at, what they struggle with, what they want to work on. So when people spend the money I charge, I want to make sure I address everything they want. So I never come up with the idea. Some of my juniors I do, it's always spares. It's always spares. Mm-hmm. But everybody else, they will tell me what they're struggling with or what they want to work on. So I always want to focus on what you want. So they always tell me. I never have to tell them. I never, ever have a 5-lesson plan because I've taken lessons and I don't want to work on the sand trap when I want to work on my wedge. If I want to hit my driver, I don't want to work on putting. It's my money. I want to work on what I want to work on. So I always thought it that way. And I managed to hang in there for 16 years doing this. So I just had my busiest month of all time in August. So obviously something's going right. So I kind of like my style. And that makes it fun for me. I like having 8 people walk in and having the thing I like the most, as crazy as this, is some coaches don't like people questioning them. I like when they walk in with a giant list of questions. My engineers especially. I have quite a few engineers that take 2-hour lessons. First hour, all we do is talk, and they have a 30 to 40 question because that's how their brain's wired. That's how I would classify you compared to, say, working with Tommy. You wanted all the questions answered before you threw it. Tommy didn't care. Tommy, do this. Okay, coach, whatever you say. You'd say, well, are you sure? What about this? What about this? What about this? If I answered enough questions, then you were just as easy as Tommy. Your brain is wired different than his, so you have to address questions different. That's kind of what I'm into, is how their brains are wired. It's really, if you're an engineer or an IT or an accountant, your brain's wired a very specific way because you can't guess at your answer. Your answer is exact. So they need to have exact answers before they even pick the ball up and throw it. I've always been a confidence guy and a self-employed guy, so I got 30 things going on at once. I just need to feel confident, and I don't worry about the questions. So that's a different way of looking at it. So my job is to figure out the bowler, how they're wired.
Speaking of guys that know themselves, Cole, this little background here, he's one-handed. Rev rate's about 500, 520. Got all the entry fee. Bowl college in both the Laveries. What's your advice on helping someone get softer and rolling it better? Because he's a guy that has too much, has massive power, accuracy issues, probably where he separates from the very best bowlers because it's a tour worthy release.
So then he's not. So I call it the release window from the knob or end of your arch on your foot to about 3 inches in front is what I look at for a window. Mm-hmm. So you got to get where the ball's coming off your hand at the end of that window. And for a guy that's overthrowing it, I'd keep moving him up on the approach until he's softened up. So what's happening is a guy that overthrows like that, there's too much downforce. That's why the accuracy's off. It's not flat enough going forward. So to get softer, you just have to use the back of the window, what I call better. So but he's hitting it, the ball's, if you're having a hard time with your accuracy, the ball's coming off your hand probably too soon. So I keep moving them up until they can't overthrow it.
Yeah, he's a tall, athletic guy. He's 6'2", 6'3", I guess. Probably.
So then that's exactly what I'm talking about without even knowing it. So when you're 6'2", 6'3", what happens? If his swing's above his head, his levers are very long. So if he doesn't get his hips down, the ball going forward soon enough, he's got so much downforce because the height of his levers that he's pulling, that it's coming down too hard and it's not going forward enough. I find I do this a lot. I'll have a lot of guys people that are super athletic that don't bowl much. They come in like, yeah, I'm 190, I've been bowling for 3 months, but I just can't stop throwing it so hard. You keep moving them up and getting their swing a little softer. Next thing you know, like, wow, my ball's slower. Man, I never had my ball hooked this much. How come my rev rate went down, but my ball hooks way more? Mm-hmm. That's the biggest, I would say that's the biggest myth in bowling, that if your rev rate's high, your ball hook's hot. It's all relative to what your normal rev rate is. So bowlers that come in and have a rev rate of 400, and their ball does this, the rev rate hits 380, it goes to the nose. And this is by Specto, not by me. So they come in there at 400 and they throw one at 425, 430. It's a 2-8-10 or a washout every time. So that just raising your rev rate to have a number be higher does not increase your average.
Right.
Now, if you're EJ Tackett and your rev rate's 510, 510, 510, 509, 511, or when Jesper's on, it's 540, 540, 540, 540. If you put a 5 in front of it and your spread's 2, then you have a world-class player.
Right. Right. It says if they give you trouble, use the one-word lesson, pineapple. It's
Now, you guys don't have a hair on your ass. The whole group is a group on your tour. The first time somebody big fours next year on tour, you don't scream pineapple. That's all I got to say about that.
Adam, hey, I appreciate the super chat, but you don't have to. Would you bowl a local tournament with me at the PBA World Series that bowling is going to be held in Anderson? If I'm in the middle of a PBA stop, I'm not bowling a local tournament, Adam. I appreciate the ask and appreciate thinking about me, but yeah, the chances of that are unfortunately very, very slim. I don't bowl a lot of local tournaments when the tour's on, even the senior tour. Does the elbow sticking, being near the elbow during the backswing, matter or not? My ball ends up near my ankle and under my head. I don't know.
Now, if the ball's near your ankle, under your head, then I wouldn't worry about it. Those are good places to have the ball.
What hurts my game the most, the inability to stay under the ball through the shot. That almost always is being forward and your shoulder being forward.
Now, that's a misleading thing, though. Name 3 Wild-handers who are under the ball. See, the terms that get used on YouTube are not right. Now, YouTube's been the greatest thing for our sport because so many people that would have quit go to YouTube and type in, how do I hook a bowling ball? Then they got about 6 months of videos to watch. Then they come to me. I watched all the videos and none of them worked. I get you're trying to help, but everybody's individual. I don't name one-hander who's on the bottom of the ball, like a two-hander. The only one I can think of, one bowler. There's only one-hander who actually bowls from the bottom. Jacob Buttriff. He's triple jointed.
Oh, yeah.
He gets his hand in a spot that I can't get my hand there without a bowling ball. I literally can't put my wrist in that position. So I got videos of Jacob, and I'm a beautiful guy to work with. Jacob's the nicest kid ever. His hand can get in a position you literally can't put your hand in, and he does with a bowling ball. He actually bowls like a two-hander with one hand. EJ Tackett's not on the bottom of the ball. He's just slightly below the equator. So I think bowlers should stop trying to be under the ball because it was said. Now, the dudes from Korea that do the videos are the most fun to watch. A lot of them are doing 6-pound balls that are conventionals, too. They're revving up. Their average is like 240 before the arrows. I don't ever see the ball go past the arrows. They can rev it up pretty good, though. The YouTube videos are great. And I'd say 20% of my lessons start with somebody showing me a YouTube video. I want to do that. And then I just ask them one question. I don't see them bowling much on Sundays on TV. Or else if I do that, I mean, it's just, it goes so south. So YouTube is great, but YouTube's wild. Try to have accuracy.
Yeah.
People never talk about accuracy anymore. If you're not accurate, all these things we're talking about are irrelevant.
Yeah, to pretend that Belmo and the guys at the top aren't more accurate than the rest is they make some pretty difficult patterns look not very hard sometimes.
I'll tell you this. When I did that video, and I work with you, and I work with a lot of good bowlers, and I had Simo there, Chris Prather, Danielle McEwen, and Dave Husted. And we did the thing, and I did my thing about the Baker box, and I had my idea what I was going to – I plotted 15 shots. Every pro, I rotated them, different color ball, different color lines, and we spent a lot of money on this. And then everybody commented how good Belmo's numbers were. It was like, I think it was like 6'1" at 45 feet, 6'1" at 45 feet, 6'5" at 45 feet. Oh, my God, Belmo was the most accurate. Well, here's the best part. I had to use one of Belmo's bad shots because the first 10 were like 6'1" at 45 feet. Now, he was on that day. He threw a 17 in a row like it was nothing. So his shots, I had to use one of his bad ones, or it looked like I just used the same one every time. So he was by far the most accurate bowler at 45 feet, and he was followed right behind by Simo. Then it was Prather, Danielle, and I think Dave was a little bit different. So when you did the videos, Jason's numbers were, like as Dave Husted put it when Simo and Husted went, Belmo and Simo went first, and I said, Dave, the numbers were stupid. And they were striking all they wanted. And I said, all right, Dave, you're up. And he goes, I ain't following that. I'm not going next. You can call Danielle. Danielle don't know. I'm like, I'm not following that. And I'm sure glad I don't have to make a living now. How do you beat that? That was high praise from Dave Husted, but it was fairly impressive in a closed situation, cameras on, nobody in the room, just throw it through these tape. And Jason it was like, wow, that's pretty impressive stuff.
All right, one last super chat. Monroe says, I can't seem to keep my hand behind the ball through the shot.
Okay. So that will be more about so if you look at what I try to do on every lesson I give, what I call the jigsaw puzzle, there's a picture at release. At release, invariably, if you're right-handed, your chin and your knee are on the same plane. Your head's anywhere between 6 to 12 inches right of your slide knee, your left knee. And the ball's coming off your fingertips just right past your toe. What creates your hand being behind the ball is your head. Your head controls your hand. So what happens is people tend to get their head in front of their knee. So the distance between your knee and your chin they're always the same. If I make my head go forward, my right shoulder socket comes with it, and invariably that shoulder socket rolls in. Once that shoulder socket rolls in a quarter inch, your thumb goes down. If your head is past your knee, you cannot keep your hand behind the ball. So get where you're at the end of the swing, your head and your knee are on the same plane, meaning if you filmed it from the side, your face wouldn't be in front. Again, all this is on the instructional video. I had Danielle McEwen, Prather, and Husted. All their heads exactly on top of their kneecaps. So did Simo. So did Belmo. When I used the Bill O'Neill, I used Chris when you were in your when you were in your best in the 10 years, 15 years ago. When we filmed the fountain, your face never ever went past your knee. So that causes the consistent release point, and your shoulder stays back without trying. If your head's behind your knee, your shoulder can't go forward.
Right.
But that's why the timing spot's so good, because when your head, remember this, when your head and your knee are on the same play, that's what allows your guys' back legs to clear so well. People's head goes in front. They don't clear their back leg. If you don't clear your back leg, it's not your power source. Then your right shoulder is your power source. Your thumb's coming over the top. Whether you want it to or not, that's how your body's built. It's not a bowling function.
Back leg up in the air. So, yeah.
Well, the two-handers, their legs go up. Two-handers, most of their legs go up, but their heads don't go too far forward. And then when they throw it really good, their legs go up, their head stays quiet. Then you see their foot come back down on the approach and rest. That's kind of that's kind of like their move.
Yeah, Instagram
Phil O'Neill does that a little bit.
I spent my entire Bolero summer pass learning a social media release.
I'm not saying it's wrong, man. I think it's helped our sport immensely, because people that were going to quit now have a source to find out as much as you want to find out about bowling. Sometimes they've never seen you bowl, so they're telling you what to do. They're not really telling you how to do it. We had more time, I would go into my whole mathematical equation and the Baker theorems, and you can tell I spend way too much time by myself in a bowling cave. I got a lot of time to experiment on stuff.
Last question here. We got to let you go. You got work to do today, but Bowling PBA says, I can't find my Vimeo video. Bought it, but now can't find it. And I've put the link down on the bottom there so you can see it. I'm
a third-party person on Vimeo. I don't have access to anybody's information. So you have to send a ticket into them. What you'll need is your original email and your original password. You just go to Vimeo.com. It'll pop up and it'll tell you where to put those in. People they tend to forget which email they used or what their password was. I can't do anything with that. So I'm a third-party person. Yeah, you got to go in there and reset it. It's based on what you use for your original email, especially if you saw the video and it worked. There is an email and there is a password that does it. I have an IT guy that helps out with that. But in these situations, it really does come down to how that works. I have no access to Vimeo. They don't give me anything. They pay me once a month. And it's been unbelievably successful. And the Vimeo for the 99.9% has worked unbelievably well.
Yeah. If you have enough hand to throw plastic, good idea. Plastic doesn't carry as well, even if you have 6 degrees. It's basically impossible to get 6 degrees of entry angle with a plastic ball, but
yeah, it won't change directions enough.
It won't change directions that much. So, generally speaking, it's like when you're playing shuffleboard, plastic as a whole doesn't really get going forward as much, and so it deflects when it hits the pins.
I mean, there's not a core in a plastic ball, is there?
But there's a few of them that do.
All right.
I mean, there's Black Widow spare balls and some things like that. But in general, no, they won't carry as much. There's a reason why old school averages were 10 to 20 pins less than what they are today. And it's not because they didn't hit the pocket every shot.
Well, I mean, what was EJ last year on tour for high average?
I mean, he was
229 again?
Yeah, 229 again.
I was high average in 1985. So now we're 40 years ago, I averaged 213.
Yeah. One of the years
we shot a lot of 209s clean.
I think I was 218 or 219 the one year when I was the high average. And that was one of the last, before we went to match plays and you got to stay on the same pair all the time, which then, once you obviously get to stay on the same pair in bowl matches, the averages go way up.
Yeah.
So slightly.
So yeah, the balls just strike more. Now, I'm not saying the bowlers aren't better, no. that whole debate. They throw it really good, but they made the pocket considerably bigger to carry.
Yeah. Reactive balls have done two things. One, they've made it much easier to strike and create entry angle, but they've also made hard patterns way harder.
They're tough.
Easy patterns way easier and hard patterns way harder. And so the separation between good and great may have never been more than it is right now. Because the guys can create that power if they can make it hit the pocket. And that's what Urethane gave them back, that part. Is the part where they could hit the pocket the most. And they gave up a little bit of carry, but then they hit the pocket as much as Walter Ray. And while at the same time playing defense against all the guys that needed the reactive to hook it that much.
Right.
So, all right. Hey, Mark, I appreciate you coming on. Anything else you'd like to say on your way out?
This is always a pleasure. Place? Always a pleasure. Your guys, your fans are amazing. They always ask really good questions. As you could say, I'm pretty passionate about this. I would think by now I'd be done, but 64, Gage is a sophomore, so I think I've got about I think there's 7 more years of this, and I'm going to call it a day. So if you want to get, you want a lesson or a virtual lesson or by the Vimeo, I would do it. Don't put it off. 7 years is going to go quick, and then I think somebody else gets to do what I do. I don't know. I'm on the 7-year plan right now.
All right. Well, thanks again, Mark, for joining us. Appreciate all the questions. As usual, you guys are the best. You're the most well-informed and intelligent group on social media. We will be back Thursday. I don't know if Stu will be with me or not, but if not, then I'll bring on someone else who can help cover up my deficiencies, just like today. Between now and then, please support the sponsors, support us. Storm, Rotogrip, Niner Global, Coolwick, Bowlers Mart, Fire Lake Bowling Center, Lightning Strikes, and Platinum Ford. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless.
See you guys.